Hope you had a good week. This year is dedicated to the memory of Chayleba Tzrav Chaim Tzvi, Chayleba Tzrav Chaim Tzvi. Oops, only 5 years. No, not really. And we're getting close to the end of Daniel. We're doing Perek Yud Aleph. We left off in the middle of the Perek last time. In this Perek, as we said last time, what's happening is that Daniel is revealing the entire map of the future with all of its great detail. And the point of it is to show us the hashgachic hand in history as it unfolds. It's to show us that as things happen, there's always a reason, that we're meant to encounter certain difficulties and see the example of certain people so that we could look at our lives as a collective and know what to do with it. So we went through various historical notions and possibilities concerning everything that's happening in the future. So what we got to is the huge conflicts that will take place after the death of Alexander the Great. His empire was divided between his 4 generals, and the northern and southern kingdoms, the kingdom of Antiochia and the kingdom of the Ptolemaic kings of Egypt, became the great world powers. So they're referred to in the text, as we learned last time, as the king of the north, that would be Antiochia, and the king of the south, that would be the Negev. So with all of this in mind, what we left off with was how through all sorts of machinations, corruptions, murders, anything that you could possibly expect from people who were corrupted by power, kings rose and fell. Okay, so beginning with Pasuk Chaf. V'amad al kano ma'avir nogesh heder malchut uv'yamim achadim yishaber v'lo ba'apayim v'lo b'milchama. So the successor of the last king, who was unbelievably corrupt, violent, involved in conquest, was the person who's described as follows. The next one to be established was the person who pushed aside all encounters. And that was the glory of his kingdom. So it means is there were kings. There was a king who, if you were to ask, and what happened during his reign, the answer would be not much. So this is sort of like the Eisenhower era in America. So how do people relate to that? So I find very interesting is that the way people relate to a king who doesn't conquer, who doesn't make war, who doesn't have, quote, issues, they don't value a king like that. In other words, the greater the king is in objective terms, the less valued he is in the Western world. And we see the roots of this here. V'lo ba'apayim. Okay, he was broken, and not after a long time, and not through war. Okay, he was broken by the machinations of his own political parties, the Mefarshim say. There was inner conflict. Why? Because, again, the kingdom of the north, which ultimately was conquered by Rome and became the voice of Rome. Okay, in other words, Rome itself was divided in 4, and the one that predominated and the one that became the voice of Rome was the northern kingdom. They don't value peace. They don't value anything other than conquest. So in today's world, when you look at the all of the ridiculous things that take place in the UN, this becomes clearer and clearer. The next one who came was a person from whom one would be ashamed, a person who gave no honor to his kingdom. So what we're talking about is a person who wasn't worthy of rule, even by their standards. Okay, so the question, of course, is: so how did he get to rule? And the answer of this is through all sorts of corruption, all sorts of force. Okay, So what we had before were rulers who, as rulers, essentially were good, but may have done bad things. Here what you have is somebody who's completely different, a person who in essence should be despicable in the eyes of anyone. Okay, so taking this ish nivzeh a little bit further, what does it mean to be a person worthy of shame? So we find the word for shame used concerning Esav in Ovadia, where it says, Bazui ata ma'od, you're very shamed. Why? Because you come from a person who, to begin with, it says about Esav, he rose and he shamed the right of firstborn, meaning the idea of spiritual primacy was something that he rejected. So the